Welcome. This here, bringing you a short little story. This one's from the journal of Olam the Auger, written by Soulbound Studios. It was on one such excursion that I came upon an old woman of the forest who shared with me the most complete rendition of the miracle of the Second Age that I had ever heard. She spoke a difficult dialect of Croyes, but her story went like so. So long ago, before we even knew ourselves, and people feared the giant ones who stalk the world with wrath and magic, there was a great famine. Starvation and misery found its way to all. There were none who didn't feel it. Forest was barren, grassland was fallow, fruit withered on vine and branch. Animals who stayed went mad, desperate things who looked at us as food. This suffering of mankind lasted 26 years. The ancient giants toyed with us. The land kept her gift from us. The beasts preyed on us. The hunters dared go out, but very few returned. The people could not stay, so they began to wander. Far they walked, but still there was no food to gather, and prey to hunt was waning. Our mothers and fathers, on this long journey to survive, came at last to the Mann, the mountain valley. Inside of 3 peaks it lay, and though its nature also hibernated, the sun was warm on their backs and the mountain passes frigid. They stayed for a night. In the morn there was a wonder to behold. The valley was set upon by a swarm of bright, red bees so vast they could not see the sky. The valley looked to be awash with red snow, buzzing and rolling across all. A miracle. The bees coaxed from the sleeping flowers their blooms. The petals opened in just minutes of their touch. The trees set in that valley, they grew heavy with ripening fruit in time for midday. Bushes, too, burst with sweet berries and rich nuts. So surprising this was, that our ancestors could barely believe it. Even the creatures came out of hiding to watch. Then, as friends, the people and beasts feast aside each other until their bellies were full and their minds were drunk in wonder. The ruby color swarm eventually moved on, but our people followed. Not only because they were hungry, but also because there was learning to be done. The bees made a bounty with care and design, and the people wished to learn it. The great swarm moved across the land from north to south and from west to east. Sometimes the people decided to stay behind and take on the bees' work, gardening and tending their plants. Anything the bees touched seemed better and stronger and hardier. Still many followed, and they left a path for the others to follow with a flower they find in the bond that will wake instantly at the bee's kiss. Its bloom bright and long to be seen for miles. Any friends who know can find them again with such a clear path marked for them. But the journey wanes, and few are left who follow the swarm by the time it comes to the ocean shore. The bees kept on east, beyond the waves. But some clever ones convinced the queen to stay. They planted all their poppies on a high cove above the crashing sea, and so she and her kin stayed to tend to them, while others flew off, like a blood-red cloud in the sunset. The pilgrims kept the queen and made her happy, and she gave them honey and taught them more. Soon they could make their own gardens, grow their own foods. This, this was a moment where the infants of man became the people of Illyria. This is how mankind spread far and wide, making cities, growing powerful. Because of this, the Titans are put to sleep, and the gods trouble us no more. That was their story. And though previously recorded versions of the story have more or less different details, the core remains always, with the migration of our forebears, a red swarm of insects, and the first recordings of agriculture. When I attempted to share other accounts of the tale, that old woman laughed and laughed. Though I reflected on it as I prepared to sleep, I couldn't come to a conclusion on what precisely she found so amusing. And when I woke in the morning, she and her kin had gone, and I could not find a trail to follow. So that's the birth of man from the journal of Olam the Auger. I'd like to thank Soulbound Studios for putting the effort into coming up with this story. It's a little bit of a picture into their interpretation of Illyrian history, though I'm sure they encourage you to come up with your own. Till next time, folks.